Welcome back, Rise Up Nation. We are here for another episode of Rise Up in Real Estate, and I have another great practitioner in real estate, but more than that, a really good friend, just a good human being all around. We just got sidetracked a few minutes ago talking about incredible things, and I was thinking, hey, I need to have this recorded because Layne is such a fantastic person. I just enjoy talking to her. She introduced me to chai tea. I have an iced chai tea latte once a week in honor of Layne Mureddu. But Layne, I'm so happy to have you on the show today. Thanks for coming and sharing some of your life with us today.
I am very happy to be here, Chad. I always like to have a nice conversation with you, and if it's recorded, that's just fine.
That's right. That's right. So we're gonna just take a little walk down the journey with Layne. Tell me a little bit about. Why don't we start, Layne? Just jump right in and talk a little bit about where you came from, a little bit about what makes you who you are, and how you ended up in real estate. Because I know you haven't always been there.
No, I haven't always been in real estate. I've had my real estate license for 7 years. Just kind of backing it up a little bit. Yes, my original career was as a school psychologist. Like I just always knew. I could remember sitting at the kitchen table when I was 12 years old, and I was like, I know I want to be a psychologist. I didn't know one, and I had never, been to one, but I just knew that. And then I also knew I wanted to work with children. And so school psychology was the perfect fit for that. And I was a practicing school psychologist for a decade. And then, life progresses, and moved enough times, had a corporate spouse, moved enough times, and was raising my own children that I was so engrossed in that school psychology kind of fell by the side. You really have to keep up with that. There's a lot of continuing education and whatnot. And then once my children went off to college, I kind of felt I was in a different stage of my life. And I was an avid yoga practitioner, and I became a certified yoga teacher. And then I got certified at the 500-hour level as a yoga therapist, because the idea was to meld my experience as a school psychologist with yoga and do yoga therapy. And I had actually envisioned maybe working with children with autism. Yoga is very effective with them. But just again, life happens the way it does. And at a certain point, it was sort of a transitional point in my life. Um, I had I was no longer married to my first husband, and I had the proceeds from our family home, my portion of it, and I was like, well, I don't know where I want to go or what I want to do yet. So I bought a small apartment building, renovated it, and put renters in it. And I thought that was going to be my business model. I thought that's what I was going to do. But moving to Myrtle Beach was much more important for me, I decided. So I'm a Carolina girl. I grew up in North Carolina. I went to UNC Chapel Hill for college and my master's degree. So I moved here, managed it from a distance for a little while, but then sold it. I actually thought maybe I could do the same thing here, but this is a very different market. I moved here from St. Louis. That's a very old city with a lot of small apartment buildings. It's not like that here. So I decided that I determined it's a new build area, a lot of new builds. And I wasn't able to find a realtor that had quite my vision. It's probably just because I didn't know anybody. But I was like, well, I'll just get my real estate license and I'll find my own lots to build. And while I'm at it, maybe I will find another small apartment building. Well, I did build 3 houses and I sold them. And I was like, building houses was cool. Having an apartment building and property management, that's cool too. But I think I like this buying and selling bit. Like I like the contracts, I like the relationships, I like the creativity. And that's how it happened. That's how I became a realtor.
Isn't that amazing? So you said a couple things that I have to touch on, Layne. Go Tar Heels, even though I grew up in Raleigh and went to NC State. I'll say that to you in honor of the Tar Heels. Some of my best friends are Tar Heels, so go Tar Heels. Great to have a North Carolina girl back in the Carolinas. That's awesome. I love that you've been in school psychology. A lot of people would say that's exactly why you're good at real estate, because your clients need the same training that you had to be a school psychologist, probably, to talk them through the process. And it's interesting to me also, the third thing I want to say is interesting that were doing a lot of real estate you had that interest in you all along. You bought that apartment building and did it, and you bought those 3 houses, and you weren't even
Mhm.
thinking about, hey, I want to be a salesperson. But then, wow,
No.
you kind of were like Rennie. You fell in love with the contracts and the buying and selling process, and then you made the decision to get into real estate. And that was, you said that was 7 years ago.
Yes.
Has it been what you thought?
It has, because, I was old enough. I had enough wisdom to know that just because I had been a buyer of a home, my own home, or a seller of my own home, I didn't have the hubris to think that I actually knew what it was to be a realtor. So, I think I do. I actually had, when I was a new graduate, a college graduate, when I was buying my first house before I became a school psychologist, I had our realtor look at me and say, "You could do this." And I looked at her and I was like, "But don't you work like weekends and nights and holidays?" And she said, "Yeah." And I was like, "Well, I that's not going to work for me. I plan on having a family." Like, I know that many realtors have children and they do a beautiful job in real estate. I mean, I can't multitask like that. So I think I've always had kind of an idea, because you can watch, even working with realtors, like when they were helping me buy and sell real estate, I watched what they had to do. I mean, it was long hours.
Yeah, and I love the connection to yoga. Also, I didn't know that. Someone said to me, you got to have 10,000 hours in something to be proficient at it. And you've got a lot of
Mhm.
hours in yoga. Are you still practicing now? For my listeners, that'd be interesting to know. There's some that will connect with that about you. Are you still doing that now?
I definitely have my own yoga practice, my own regular yoga practice. And then, because, my real estate business is so wonderfully built, I am down to just teaching one class a week. And I've chosen yoga as my area of service. So I don't want to just keep that to myself. And so I actually teach in my clubhouse in my neighborhood once a week. And it's just it it just feels so good. It's just such a feeling of contribution, and you watch people, like, in a classroom. It's so different than if you're doing in a job where you're doing contracts, or even you're building something. You're watching people's bodies move, and you see the improvement, or you see where they need help, and they so appreciate the guidance. And it's an intense place to be, for an hour, hour and a half. It's very cool.
Yeah, we recently went on vacation to Florida, and the resort that we were staying in had an early morning class every day. And Mandy was able, because we didn't take our littlest one, Mandy was able to take our two girls who are 6 and 8 to their first yoga classes.
Mhm.
And I could look out, I had to watch Archer because I didn't think he would sit still, but I was able to look out the window and watch what they were doing. And it was very spiritual. It felt like, even
Mhm.
watching it from a distance, what they were able to do with their mom in that setting, it seemed
Mhm.
that way. I can see that you're pretty deep spiritual person too, right? You were just sharing with me how you
Yes.
kind of view business, and share that with me again, if you don't mind, Layne, like how it's
Yes.
connected for you.
For me, physical reality is an expression of what exists on the spiritual realm. So everything I do in my mind is spiritual, and it doesn't matter whether I'm doing prayer, meditation, that's one thing, cooking, practicing, teaching yoga, or doing real estate. With everything is a manifestation of something on a higher plane. And, I shared with you, if there's something in my physical reality that is making me uncomfortable, or I would prefer it to change, I go to the spiritual realm. I'll just take some time aside for myself to go a little deeper and explore that in meditation and prayer. To me, meditation, that clears the conduit between the divine and my mind, so I can hear divine guidance, because I know that's there.
And when that conduit gets crowded
Mhm.
with life, the physical, you need to
Mhm.
take a minute to try to, or whatever time it takes to clear it again. That's fascinating to me. And
Mhm.
I've never heard you put it that way before, but when I'm around you, I feel that
Mhm.
spiritual presence, and it's not overbearing or intimidating or, um, like some people might think. It's just very, I've always felt you're very grounded, and that kind of makes
Mhm.
sense.
Mhm.
to the way you're describing that. I like that. And I should mention, I know we won't get into this today because we have such limited time and you're so fascinating, but if you want to know anything about cooking, you should also follow Layne. You should also text her, call her, hook up. I've seen her at Frank's a few times just passing by, but she and her husband both have fascinating stories. And you used to do videos, cooking videos, didn't you? You still
I
doing those
did.
now, or you're not doing them right
I
now?
I had a little show. It was Crescent Coast in the Kitchen because my team is uh, uh, Crescent Coast real estate experts, and it was kind of a variety show. We did it during COVID because you couldn't get out much. Like I couldn't do
Right.
open houses and things like that, and so I would have a cooking segment. I would have a real estate happening segment, and I would have a guest. Like I'd had an attorney. I had a lender, just various real estate people. And I haven't been doing it since the world opened back up, you know.
Right. Right.
It was fun.
I remember that. It was fun. You did it at your house, didn't you? And it looked very
Yeah.
professionally done. I was very impressed with it. You all wore blue because you even did it before. But I should say this isn't a Remax commercial, but I see your pin, and I just want to say to
Oh.
you publicly, we're super proud to have you here. I think
Oh.
you bring so much to the table above and beyond your excellence in the real estate transaction. So thank you for being with us. Tell me a little bit, like from your perspective, and I asked this question not holding you to it or not expecting you to know the answer, but there's a lot of moving parts in the real estate world right now, and I don't know how in
Mhm.
tune you are to it or how much you give credit to it. But where do you think we're headed in the next, let's just say, 12 months from your perspective in the real estate space? And you can answer that however you feel fit. It
Mhm.
doesn't. There's no real right or wrong answer. I just want to know your mindset.
This is what I know. People don't like change. It's the psychology of it. People don't like change. And that's why things almost came to a halt last quarter and were slow to pick up. Whether interest rates stay high or whether they drop and they stay low, whatever it is, people don't like that in between. The change makes people very nervous. And it doesn't matter what it is. It could be real estate, it could be a health issue, it could be the weather. When there's some weather coming, people kind of hunker down. So as long as the interest rates stay the same, we're fine. Now, if they start wiggling around, people are going to slow down and be cautious again. Um, and it doesn't even matter if they go ahead and stay at the highest level. The real estate will pick up because there's the pent up demand, and people are like, okay, things are stable. The earth has stopped shaking, so I can go ahead and continue my walk. But if the earth starts shaking with change again, people aren't going to like that. Now, if interest rates drop with the pent up demand there is, I just know that I'm not going to be getting a whole lot of sleep or a whole lot of meals because I'm going to be meeting myself coming and going because I'm already really busy. But I know that I have so many clients who are ready to make a change, but if they were just given a little bit of bait, like it doesn't even have to drop by much. Like if it dropped by 1 point, I think there'd be a stampede. And you know
Right.
what's going to happen for you people that are sitting on the fence? There's going to be a stampede. You're waiting for the interest rate to drop 1 point. Everybody's waiting for the interest rate to drop 1 point, and you're going to be in multiple offer situations having to bid above list again. Don't wait. Just buy now and refinance if they drop.
It's interesting that people are not, they're willing to give up control, like you just said, for a little bit better rate. The prices are going to be
Mhm.
higher. It's going to be supply and demand. As the demand increases and
Mhm.
the supply even increases, the demand's going to double increase and the prices are going to go up. So, very
Yeah.
good advice. Why do you think you're busy now? You said you weren't busy in last quarter. Was it just the mindset of buyers and sellers, or was it your mindset, or was it a combination? What changed over the? This is the magic question. Like, if you could tell me the answer to this, I could probably retire next week.
Yeah, I have to say, my board is actually filled with people. Hmm. Sometimes for me right now, it's worked out with timing. Like I just got someone under contract 2 days ago that I've been talking to for 2 years. And it was
Wow.
nothing, it didn't have to do with interest rates or anything. Actually, she's a cash buyer. It was a family situation that changed, that she knew would change. It had to do with health issues. Another one, we'll be writing a contract for him tomorrow. And that's just, again, actually, there was a health issue. A health issue resolved so he could move back to the area. Again, a cash buyer. But then I have a young couple, they're not cash buyers, but there's a job change. I sent them to Florence, from Myrtle Beach to Florence a couple years ago. Well, now they're coming back from Florence to Myrtle Beach because the job changed. So people move, they buy and sell real estate all the time. And it has nothing to do with interest rates. They just need to do that. Um, and then I had, yeah, and again, another family situation. It's a very unique situation. I have, I call them a young couple, but they're old enough to have teenage sons. So they're like upper 30s, which to me is quite young, but they're a young couple. They bought a really large house in an HOA community because she expected her mother and her handicapped adult brother to come live with them. Well, that did not come to fruition. And they just don't, it's way too big of a house, and it also has an HOA, and that is not their deal. And they're like, Layne, we're ready to go. And so we found them the house they wanted. And part of the reason we could get them their dream home is because people were on pause with the interest rate. So we didn't have multiple offers on the property they wanted. And yeah, and we're just selling the one that they're leaving. So
So it sounds like lifestyle things, and you're in touch
mhm,
with your people pretty regularly,
mhm,
very, very well. I've heard you talk about these clients as if they're parts of your family now. Like these are
mhm.
friends, a lot of them. You just know their stories, and that's probably how you do business, right? It's just people.
It is. Yeah, I've got, there are some of them that a month doesn't go by without me writing them a note, giving them a phone call, inviting them to a party. And then other people, they're just a matter of keeping up with the phone calls, like the clients that I've been talking to for 2 years. They contacted me 2 years ago, and we just started having conversations about the area. She knew she wanted to come here, and we built a relationship over time. And yeah, it is. It's just it's completely about relationships. Like
Right.
what I love to do is I enjoy loving people to where they want to go. So whether it's children who needed to raise their grades or have better behavior, whether it's my yoga students that want to be able to play tennis again, whether it's my real estate clients that need to get from point A to point B, like it's all about the relationship. It's just loving them from where they are to where they want to go.
That is a perfect. I would say that could be on your business cards. I wrote that
Mhm.
down. That's
Oh,
profound. I love that. Excellent, excellent, excellent. So would you say your mindset right now is? And this is a difficult one to ask a spiritual person, but is your mindset positive now in first quarter of 2024? Um, Average, negative? How are you?
highly positive,
Highly positive.
highly. This is going to be my best year ever. I know it.
Oh, awesome! I'm excited. I can't wait to
And
watch.
if you're talking about real estate, yeah. And then on my personal life,
Yes,
my
yes.
my third child, my youngest daughter, is getting married in July to a man that I adore, that she has been dating for a number of years. We know him well. He's already part of the family. And then my son, he had a small wedding in his apartment during COVID. Well, they're going to do a post wedding big celebration in Paris Labor Day weekend. Hello, like yeah, life is great. It's like yeah, my relationships with my children are wonderful. I'm just married to this wonderful man. Dean and I are celebrating our sixth wedding anniversary this month, and yeah, life is really good.
Life is good. People, you should recognize the fact that, my dad used to say, hard work makes good luck.
Mhm.
But you should probably recognize when she's telling her story that it's not unrelated, that the part about cleaning the conduit and keeping your mind and soul right for this life to happen. And when it's not happening, you get your mind back right again and open up that conduit. These things are related. So when she's talking about the positive things going on in her family and life, I'm proud of you for being
Mhm.
open to all of that and making that happen for you. So that's
Mhm.
really, really cool, and great description of how you and why you do business. I think I just
Mhm.
discovered something about you, and that's fun. That's why I do the
Mhm.
show. People say, "Why do you spend all this time doing the?" Well, because I just learned something about my friend that I didn't even know, and we've
Mhm.
spent quite a bit of time talking. So
Yeah.
I'm very excited about that. Tell me, this is going to be a good one for you. What is your superpower, Layne? People hate answering this question about themselves because realtors don't like talking about themselves. But what do you think your gift is? Like, if Layne can only do one thing, what's it going to be?
I feel like I'm particularly good at stepping back from a situation and observing and listening and seeing the dynamic and being able to progress the exchange. I think that's why I knew originally I wanted to go into psychology, because even at age 12, I could do that with friends and family. And yeah, that's my superpower, I think.
That's neat. I'm terrible at that. So maybe that's why I'm
Mm.
drawn to you, because you can help me with that. And I guess I was going to say Dean is a lucky man, but it might be that superpower that you have could get like you know things before he knows them sometimes, and that's not so good either. So I can get it. I may have him on the show next season when I do the spouses of realtors. That would be so much fun to get the other
Mhm.
side of the story, because I've loved your cooking stories and things that you've told me about. Tell me, I think you nailed it with your superpower. What is it doesn't have to be a real estate book, but tell me a
Mhm.
book that has mattered to you, or maybe two. If you're a reader, some people are. You seem like you might be a reader. Something you've read or listened to that has made a difference for you.
I had a couple ready, but since you just said it didn't have to be real estate, I just read a really powerful book, Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning. He was a physician. He was actually a psychiatrist that was incarcerated in an extermination camp during World War II. And because he was a psychiatrist, he couldn't help but still be a psychiatrist, and he watched his campmates, the ones that thrived and the ones that didn't. And there were a couple things he found. And one is that if they had a reason, a hope to keep going, like to be reunited with their wife and their family, they would live longer than the people that did not have that. Another thing that I thought was fascinating was you had to watch the hope part. You had to be grounded in the present reality, or you were more likely to die. This was like such a profound observation to me. There were those, and every now and then there would be someone in the camp. Of course, there were thousands in the camp, but the people he knew, they would have just an unrealistic hope. Just to keep themselves alive. How are they going to get through day to day in this horrible existence? Well, we're going to be out by Christmas. Then, when they weren't out by Christmas, they would die shortly thereafter. So what he found is, yes, you have to have a reason for your life and what you're looking forward to, but you also have to stay in the current reality. You have to embrace the suck. So, and this is something that he's observing in 1938. And then another phenomenal observation that he had. So they were taking him out to work, and this is in like the border of Germany and Russia, and it's just bitterly cold in winter. And they're marching them to the work site, and they don't have adequate clothing. His shoes don't completely cover his feet, and he's wishing that he could close them better. His shoelaces are broken, and he's just in misery. Like his whole body is in such pain. And then he thought, this is ridiculous. I am a doctor. I am a human being. I'm a man. And they are reducing me to thinking about, can I trade a cigarette for shoestrings? He's like, no, I'm going to think about something else, because I have power in my mind to control the reality of my life. So he started thinking about imagining himself. It just came to him being in an auditorium in a university setting, lecturing to others about what he had learned by being imprisoned in that extermination camp. And that actually is what turned out to be like, that started in his imagination in that point of hardship. And he actually developed a branch of therapy from that became rational emotive therapy and cognitive therapy. So something beautiful did happen. But I was like, those were just such powerful observations. And I just enjoyed reading his experiences, broadened my perspective of the world exponentially.
I have heard of that book before. It's not a light read, is it?
No, no, it's
Um,
very heavy.
but that second example you gave of hope, but I just did a video called "Embrace the Suck," and it was
Oh,
actually that is one of the main concepts of improv comedy theory. Is you when you're on stage, the idea is, because it's all improvised, the idea is to make your cohort on stage with you look like a rock star. And part of the way you do that is every bad situation, you embrace it. Like everything that's not funny, you make it funny, or everything that knocks you off of kilter, you celebrate. So that's a lighthearted example of that same concept. But man,
Mm-hmm.
what a what a different view of your why and the
Mm-hmm.
depth of your why, the length of your why, and not setting a time limit on
Mm-hmm.
the possible,
Right.
really, really profound. I love that kind of thing. I wrote it down. I'll put it in the show notes, and
Okay.
I'm an Audible guy. I don't know if I can Audible that one. I just have a hard time sitting and reading. Like
Yeah.
I'm all over the place, but I
Yeah.
appreciate that recommendation because it's not, the compound effect or all the ones I've
Yeah.
gotten 100 times on the show. So thank you for
Yeah.
doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Last thing I will ask you, and then we'll part for this time because I'm going to do another episode with you for sure. Tell me, is there something in your life that you do on a regular basis, on a daily basis or whatever? The name of the show is Rise Up in Real Estate. And the reason I picked that is because I wanted to pick people like you that are above ordinary. You do things in your life that make you extraordinary, in my opinion. What is it that you do to be not mediocre? Like, is there something in your daily routine that kind of sets the tone for Layne to be Layne?
There is not a morning that goes by that I don't begin my day with prayer, meditation, and affirmations. And this is true. Like I've hiked the Grand Canyon, whitewater rafted Grand Canyon, and still, when I got up in the morning, that's what I do. And I think I also want to. I know a lot of people do prayer and meditation and affirmations, but there's something I would like to add. For our listeners, when you're doing your affirmations, you've got words, but don't stay with the words. Go a little bit more deeply and find the feeling. Even if you have to pare down your affirmations to just one affirmation, find the feeling place of what it is that you're affirming you want in your life.
Can you give me an example? I know that's putting you on the spot, but um,
Um,
like what's an
okay.
affirmation that you would, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, it's good. Yeah, I'm kind of casting about. It'll be kind of general because I don't have a specific in my mind right now.
Hmm.
But there were a few years there where relationships with my children were difficult. There's transition, when a marriage ends with a parent and, you move on with life. And so I would go to the place of, affirming with each child that relationship and finding that feeling place of how it would feel if that relationship were right. Like you can even help yourself, like go back to a time when that existed and find that feeling of it and bring it in the present.
Yes, that's good. My Mandy does affirmations with the girls on the way to school in the morning, and I found this out because I took them to. She always takes them to school. I took them to school one day because she was doing something else, and as we rounded the corner to the school, my girls started saying things like, "I am beautiful." I am strong. I have everything I need inside me to succeed. And I just was in tears. I was like, I just love
Oh.
that a
Mhm.
5 and a 7-year-old at that time were saying those things. And I was proud of Mandy for being that woman. But that is so profound again, to look beyond why saying I have everything I need inside me to succeed. What is the feeling or the reason or the depth of why that matters or why you want that? And I think you just described it perfectly. We've both been in situations where um, like I have adult children
Mhm.
along with my little brood, and it hasn't
Mhm.
always been rosy with Casey and Lawton, but now Lawton is getting married in October. He's coming on into real estate with our company, and my daughter's doing fantastic, working in town, and our relationships are amazing. But there have been times where I've said those same affirmations, like "Get me there." So I appreciate that. Any parting words for our listeners today, Layne? You've been I don't even know, I'm not sure what I'm going to call this episode because it's been so profound to me personally. But what would you say going away to the agent that's out there just listening for their good, I guess?
Well, if it's a new agent, it would be, along with the theme we were talking about today, is if things seem slow for you right now, embrace the suck, but do the work. You have to act, do the work, and know in your heart you're going to feel that affirmation. You're going to feel what it feels like to be successful, and you have that why of what things look like in the future. So it's a broad picture. So don't get stuck in the quagmire of right now.
Yes. You've said that several times throughout this episode. It's more about it's a big picture for you. Everything's related, isn't it? I mean, it's
Yes.
the physical and the spiritual, you said, are side by side. I love that example of the why and making it undeterminate. But thank you so much for who you are, and thank you for being around us so we get better. Thanks for sharing your wisdom today on our show. If anybody wanted to find you, Layne, what's the best place? Can you spell your name for us? So if they want to find you on social media, and of course I'll have it in the show notes too, but what's the best way to reach you if somebody resonated with something you said today?
Well, I would say you feel free to find me on social media. I'm there, and I'm the only Layne Mureddu on social media in the world, as best I can tell. So Layne is Layne. There's lots of those, but when you pair it with the Sardinian last name, not so much. So that's Mureddu. There's 2 Ds. And then really the best way to get in touch with me is text 843-603-8604.
You are amazing, my friend. You put your readers on for that last little part, and I love that about you. Thanks for taking your time today. I hope that 2024 I know your 2024 would be your best year ever. You've got your mind on right, and I look forward to seeing you on Wednesday at Recharge. That'll be exciting.
Awesome. See you then, Tad.
Thanks, Layne.
Bye.
Well, hey, that's a wrap, folks. Thank you so much for listening to Rise Up in Real Estate. If you liked hanging out with us today, please find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Rise Up in Real Estate. Also, follow us right now on your favorite podcast host to hear more episodes. We really appreciate you spending some of your time with us. And until next time, let's do each other a favor and all help each other rise up.